Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show about weird and wacky equipment and call it whatever you want music. I'm Andy from Two Round Robins, and today I hope you're ready for taking a look into these things here. So, some of you asked me by looking at the last jam video or a bit of the jam videos that I did in the past months where I used some weird cards. They're strategically placed, let's say, into the scene of the jam. So maybe to give you a bit of a push into curiosity, and indeed they did, because I got a few questions of people asking me, well, what are these things here? And I just thought, okay, maybe it's time for me to present these a bit. This is not going to be an official guide, just mind you. This is basically going to be a little guide or a little presentation of what these cards do, how do they work, and if you would be interested, maybe how you could acquire them sometime in the future. So firstly, these cards are basically an inspirational deck or decks of inspiration. In a way, when, in the past, when I felt a bit uninspired, I felt a bit under the weather when it came to creating some things in a DAW setting, so meaning, using different synths and whatnot. And I just felt like I don't know what to do. I didn't feel anything giving me a nudge into a direction. So I thought maybe it could be cool to have like a little game or a little card inspiration thing where you would pick a card and it will just like limit you just a bit for you to give you a jump off point. So something where you can just, start from. In this case, I came up with the idea of something that I call a trinity set. And this is my idea, but it has been done with collaboration from two very lovely people. One of them being Maggie, which is my lovely partner. And she did these lovely illustrations that are on these cards. And I'm going to show you a bit more later. And the other person that I want to thank and want to mention here is Simon Thomas, or mosaictapes, which I have played in London, have met online, and he did these lovely designs of the backsides and really helped out when me and Maggie tried to create this world that we wanted to build. And I'm gonna talk about these worlds that are in the Trinity set a bit later. But for now, it's important for you to know that this is not a solo endeavor. Although the idea is mine, these two people have done countless hours of work trying to help me out with stuff here. So again, this is not an official guide, but it's a little presentation. So before we jump into what these things do exactly and what each deck is, there is this lovely printed guide which I made, and it's cool that I called it lovely myself, but it's gonna give you a bit of a understanding, and it's gonna help me out to explain this a bit better. But a pixiewaves trinity set. So pixiewaves is the name of the project that me and Maggie are working on, and each of these has a different set. So we have Pond of Waves, Nest of Wires, and Garden of Wonders. So three distinguishable worlds which have their own character, have their own little creatures inside that basically help you in trying to create some really cool stuff. So each one has their own poem which I wrote, which kind of give more into the whole lore of this world. But we have three of them, and I think the best thing to do here is basically to give it a bit of a tour. So I'm gonna start with this thing here. So here we have pond of waves. Now, what is the thing with pond of waves? Well, pond of waves is a world in which there's a pond and it has waves, which is kind of an abstract thing to see, to have, since ponds are usually just still water. But it's a magical place where you have a lot of lovely little creatures, such as these, which are, of course, drawn and illustrated by Maggie. So this one's one of my favorites. It's just like this wandering little turtle with the moss and flowers, just kind of growing out of it. But what do these cards do? Well, these cards are basically here to limit you in a sense, in connection with Western music theory. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just take a look at a card. So in a way, let's just take a look at the canyon here. So hopefully this is going to be a good example, but if it's not, I'm just going to move to another one. But here we have the name of the card, which is called, or the name of the character in this sense, it's called a canyon. Then you have the description, which kind of gives you a, like a little nudge what the character does. So eternal rumbles and tumbles. So again, this is gonna evoke of something that's, still needs kind of rhythmic or whatever. But then you also have the main order of the card. So the main, what that card actually wants you to do. So here it says the piece of this session. So before you start your little jam session, your little dullest jam session, you can basically read the piece of this session is primarily rhythmic. Therefore, it should emphasize its percussive nature. So basically, it means that you should think about rhythm. You should think about like polyrhythms. You should think about like different metrums. You should think about instruments that would encompass a bit more rhythmical timbres. So this is just gonna tell you, okay, think in that little direction before you start jamming. Another one, we can take a look into the Lodge Elder here. So this turtle here touches only what passed and is forgotten. So the number, meaning by the dice, so you have your little dice here. The number, in this case, is a 4, is the chosen modal scale. So excluding Ionian, Aeolian. 1 calls for Dorian. So in this case, because we have 4, we have Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, or Lydian, Mixolydian. So in this case, this is going to be a Mixolydian scale. So I would then use something that would work in Mixolydian. So maybe my melody or my harmonies would entail this particular scale. Now, a strange thing about this deck, well, not strange, but maybe something that might put off a few people, it's basically that you need to know a bit of basic music theory if you want to use this deck particularly, because it does kind of dwell in that sense of it limits you how you approach music, and I approach it at times with thinking of melody or harmony and stuff like that. So of course it's not for everyone, but I do use it quite a lot. Okay, moving on, next we have the next one, which is the Nest of Wires here. So this world here is a world inhabited by lovely birds. So knowing me, I like birds. Again, beautifully drawn by my girlfriend. It uses a bit more abstract art and a lot of these more occult-like symbols that are kind of created here. So what do these do, you may be asking? Well, let's say these basically limit you in a sense of what equipment is allowed in your session. Because a lot of times we have Dallas users and all of synth junkies and whatnot. You had like loads of little synths or little equipment here and there, and at times you're just like, I don't know what I want to do. Well, this will limit you in that way. So let's say for Tree Hermit here, so this lovely bird here, creeps within the tree trunk. So this is a tree creeper. I can see it here. The session should embrace the element with a wooden association. So think of instruments and think of something that sounds woody. In my case, this would be plum butter, like it right there. The sound just immediately calls for me plum butter. If there's like something like this, present divisor sample should be crafted within performing the session. So while you should do some live sampling. So this again, you would take a bit of these cards, you would create something based on that limit. In this case, the canonic nature delays are encouraged. So think, okay, I need a synth or an effect that would kind of give me this canonic nature, and I think that should be my limit for this session. So again, something that works great, and this was one of the more popular options for my synth friends, those that did the beta testing. So thanks a lot, guys. I thought that this might be something that would tickle your fancy the most. But what tickles my fancy the most is basically this deck here. This is my personal favorite. Now, why? Because this deck and this world, this is Garden of Wonder. It's basically meant to find inspiration outside of your music sources, meaning outside where you usually create music. So in this case, it's a very, very strange world with different creatures which were created by mashing different collages of old Victorian medieval art and then like creating something new. So in this case, let's say, for example, here we have something that's called an ear chord. Teaches you to eavesdrop. Close your eyes and listen carefully. The first sound you hear will give you a meaningful start. So in this case, if you're alone in the house or if you have whatever, you should, before you start, you should just close your eyes, and the first sound that you hear, that feeling that sound gives you might give you a clue in what way you should draw inspiration. So for example, when I have my windows opened, I do have a lot of birds here. So maybe if I hear a bird, I would try to imitate the melody or the timbre of that. That would be my inspiration. Then you have, let's say, for example, fuzzy memory. So memorize a feature fair. Take a look into your photo box or photo album. So if you have some photo albums, like I have some very vintage looking ones here, I would pick a photo by random and manifest the memory within that session. So, you would take a look at that photo. Maybe it's a portrait, maybe it's a landscape, maybe it's something that you could find some emotional depth through that. And maybe that kind of gives you a way of remembering something that you might not even experience, but it gives you an idea where in your memory hole you should look for that. So in a way, it's a bit abstract, but I think for me it just works wonders. The overall piece must evoke a feeling of white. Now, what does white mean? Well, I don't know. Whatever the white color makes you feel, or the lack of color makes you feel in this case, that should be the driving force. So again, it's very abstract, but it works. And usually how we do this, or how I do this, is basically I would just scramble these cards together. I know there's a way better word of using it, but my English is not perfect, but hopefully you understand. You would just mark these cards here. Like usually I do it like this. And I would pick a card by random. So this one, and then I would take this one. I would take, I don't know, maybe this one, and let's see what we get. So again, fate-based. First one, bouncing drops. So this will basically mean use at least one polyrhythmic element. So my piece, before I start, doing it, or before I start making music, should revolve around polyrhythms. So I would think about maybe a script on norms that would allow me that, or I would think about two rhythmic elements and I would nudge them a bit, maybe in a sampler, something that would create me this. So I'm already thinking, okay, maybe I can do that. And you can just stop there. You can just say, okay, that's enough inspiration. I don't need anything more. And you just go work. You just go sit down and try to create something out of that. Or you can try to complicate stuff a bit by using something from the nest of wires. Now, Proud Nester here is a character that basically session should use pre-crafted audio samples. Okay, so we're thinking polyrhythms, but use samples that you have pre-crafted. Okay, so I would go, before I would make something, I would just take 3 samples that I think fit. I would craft it and I would say, okay, this is gonna be on the polyrhythm side. But again, what about feeling? Well, feeling can be by using something from the Garden of Warden. In this case, we have the usual subject. First number tells you the row of your bookshelf. The second tells you the corresponding book by order, and the subject of the books is your main inspiration. So in this case, I would use 6. So I would go basically the row of your bookshelf. So I only have 3 rows. So I would say, okay, let's throw again until I hit one of those. Oh, it's 5. Let's say that, oh my God, that it falls on this, so I can make a thing. So it's my second row, and 6th book on the second row. I could also throw it a bit more so I can move by book. But let's say that I have a book and I take, let's say, what do we have here? Well, we have Moby Dick. So again, it's not only a novel about a fish, it's a novel that's dense and it's great, and it's basically also about revenge, about that bad ways of the revenge, but it's about so much more. It's about whales, it's about everything. I can talk about it for hours, but maybe the subject here, I would say, oh, maybe I wanna create a scene that would encompass that, like a musical scene that would go with whatever Moby Dick is. So again, in this case, I would think maybe in terms of emotion or in terms of ambience. Maybe I would use some seaside samples. Maybe I would use like samples, the pre-crafted samples of ropes, of whale sounds, of, let's say, the wooden knocks on the ship or something like that, and I would use that in a polyrhythmic sense. Meaning, again, I have something that would give me a jump-off point. But again, it's not only about you doing it this way. The whole thing about the Trinity deck is that it's modular, meaning you can do whatever you wish. If you, let's say, pick a card and you just don't feel like this is the card, you throw it away, you discard it, you pick another. You take maybe only one from only a card from a deck, meaning you don't need to bother around with the other 2. So maybe you just wanna use, I don't know, just this one, which is more popular than usual. But you can, I don't know, take 3 and then try to see what each of these mean and try to see, oh, I'm feeling that. You can do whatever strategy you feel like, because the main thing here is not that it closes you into something. It just limits you enough for you to get a little guide, to little push you through. And in this case, it works for me pretty great. Usually how I do this is I usually don't sit at a workstation and use these. I use these before I think about going to the workstation. So maybe I know that I'm gonna start, that I'm gonna do some music in the afternoon. So what I would do is, in the morning before I go to work, I would just pick 3 cards by random, and then look at them and just see, oh, okay. And then through the day, the ideas would just kind of bake there in my head. And I would just think, oh, maybe it's that, maybe I can do that. And then when I come back and I sit actually down, I already know, oh, I can use that, I can use that, I can use that, and then just start experimenting right away. Just start doing music right away. Don't bother with what equipment, because I already thought about it. I know what I have, I know what I do, and then it just kind of, it's all a bit easier, a tad easier, as they would say. So anyways, these are the Trinity deck. This is the Trinity deck. It is something that's not available as of now, but I do wonder if you people are interested in owning a physical copy of this deck or this particular set. And then do let me know. That's the main point here. I think it's a great thing to basically show your interest by maybe commenting a bit down in the comment section, or just throw me a DM. Hey, that sounds really interesting. Can I get on the list? Because I'm gonna release this, or we're gonna release this sometime. We're gonna do so. It's just like it's also a question of economy, meaning where to find a good printing plant that would give us good sufficient results without breaking the bank too much. So again, this is something that I'm thinking. On the next one, or the one after that, or I don't know, somewhere in the near future, I'm also going to use them in a practical sense. So I'm going to just show you, hey, okay, this is the 3 cards that the fate has chosen on me. I'm going to use this, I'm going to use this, I'm going to use this, and let's try. So I think that might be something very, very fun. In other sense, also, for my Patreons, I'm going to put a digital version, 5 cards out of each, so you can take a look. You can print them, you can do whatever you wish with them. Also, you're gonna get the digital copy of this thing, so at least you know then how to work, or what the initial idea is, just as a little teaser. But other than that, do give me some feedback. Maybe this could be cool for you, and otherwise, do have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you might be watching this, and take care.